I am a personal growth junkie. My e-reader, to my husband's dismay, is completely full of self-help books. And I'm motivated by the ideas of growth and progress and becoming. And because of my disabilities, I think that that's helped me to overcome a lot of obstacles and do things like pursue my dreams and even self-employment, which is something that we're currently in the middle of now on the road. So self-help books have been really useful to me, but I noticed about a year ago that they're only really geared towards those with social agency or people capable of reaching specific goals that they've identified. And then I started thinking, well, what about babies or people who are dying or people with severe disabilities? As you know, it felt like self-help books almost implied that you are less valuable if you can't achieve goals. And as a person with a disability, that just didn't sit well with me. So I wanted to create a theory that embraces everyone because all lives matter. I believe that I have developed a life goal that is a little more inclusive and compassionate than just strictly progress, and that is the goal of enrichment. The definition of enrichment is the act of making something rich or richer by adding or increasing a desirable quality, attribute, ingredient, or experience. Enrichment is not about measurements, benchmarks, or forward momentum. It allows people to pursue desirable experiences just because they make living a richer experience and not because they lead to some desired outcome. My goal in enrichment theory is to include everyone. So in order to do that, I needed to come up with two definitions. The first definition of enrichment is active enrichment, and this is taking control and ownership of your own life by pursuing activities that increase your sense of well-being. Now, this is going to look different for everyone. It might be going back to school. It might be starting a diet that you feel is healthier for your life. It might be reading a book or just listening to music that you enjoy. It's very individual to you. Now, passive enrichment is something that's a very important part of this puzzle. When people cannot take actions on their own to enrich their lives, like babies or people who are dying or people with very severe disabilities or people in extreme poverty, passive enrichment is administered by others with compassion and hope. It might be administering care or bringing a pleasurable experience to another person or just providing comfort when that's all that's left to be done. For me, enrichment looks like this picture on the screen about incorporating music and nature and writing and spirituality and fun relationships into my life. But everyone is unique, and your version of enrichment will be different than mine. The one thing is important to realize, though, is that enrichment is about bringing joy and may or may not bring you success. My grandfather's death was the impetus for thinking about enrichment. In 2014, he passed away, and it made a huge impression on me. He was in hospice for 6 days before he died, and the last 3 days, he was not able to speak. Many people came to be present with him in his last days, and we weren't sure if he knew that we were there, but we still made sure that he was never alone. There was one day in particular that sticks with me. I was playing Amazing Grace for him on my violin, and he started making some noises, and we were worried that he was maybe in pain. So the nurse came in, and she came to listen to him, and as she got closer, it became clear to us that he was singing along to the hymn. And as the song went on, his voice grew stronger, and even though he hadn't talked in several days, he sang the end of Amazing Grace with me. This was obviously a very powerful experience, and it helped me to realize that his death would have been much less enriching for him if he had died alone in a hospital instead of having people with him and surrounding him and doing things with him that he found comforting. And I would hope that his death was more enriching because of our presence, and it helped me to realize that everyone indeed can benefit from comfort at any point in their lives. There's a couple examples of passive enrichment, which I think will help kind of clarify what I mean. The first one is in 2014, the University of Iowa conducted a study of patients with Alzheimer's disease. And even if patients very quickly forgot details of a movie that they watched, the emotions tied to the clips of the movie that they saw lingered for up to 30 minutes. So and these are for people with very severe Alzheimer's disease. Some of them didn't even remember that they were watching a movie, but the emotions that they were conveyed on the screen stuck with them. So people determined that social interaction has a lasting emotional impact on those patients' quality of life. The second example is from a man named Martin Pistorius. He was in a coma for 12 years, but he started to wake up 2 years into his coma. Nobody knew he was awake for 10 whole years. And the hardest part that he talked about later was that the idea that everybody thought that he couldn't hear them, or that they acted like he wasn't even there in the room. So luckily, a nurse eventually realized that he was alert, and he's able to now speak through a computer. And he even wrote a book about the experience called Ghost Boy. And the reason I bring that up is we just don't know enough about the brain to determine anyone's inner experience of the world. And that's why compassion and enrichment is vital for every single human being. Our relationship to enrichment can change often over our lives. Usually, I am capable of directing my own life path and my own goals. Even if I need help, I'm usually in the driver's seat, and I'm actively enriching my own life. But because of my disability, I do sometimes have medical emergencies, and life is put on hold, and in these times I switch from active enrichment to needing passive enrichment. For example, I had back surgery my senior year, and I was told going in that it would be a 2-week recovery time and that I'd go back to school in early September and that everything would be okay. Well, when they got into my back, they realized things weren't as they had suspected, and the surgery went very differently, and I needed to be on bed rest for 2 months, my first 2 months of my senior year. And the thing that made that experience bearable is that my parents obviously provided compassionate care, but my friends, the people in these pictures, they came over every single day after school, laid in my hospital bed with me, and just hung out. We didn't have any goals. We had no agenda. We literally just spent time together. And in a way, I look back at that time fondly because it was a time to just be and to develop these relationships. My life was still valuable, even though I wasn't focused on achieving any kind of particular goal. Enrichment means bringing more to the table than the bare minimum. With active enrichment, you are always on the lookout for actions or ways of thinking that enhance your life, because you deserve to do things that enrich your life. Life is not just about surviving. Now, this may sound really close to the theory of progress, but it's not the same because enrichment is not goal-oriented. Active enrichment declares that you are already enough, but it asks, what can you do to help yourself truly enjoy the moment from this very spot? Then when a lot of people provide care to others, for in a hospital setting, in daycare, group homes, and if you are one of those people administering passive enrichment to others, I ask that you give more than the bare minimum. This does not mean working 80 hours a week to save the world. It simply means approaching tasks with compassion and purpose, because the person that you are serving is ultimately your equal. Life is very uncertain, and you could end up requiring passive enrichment at any moment. It's important to note that compassion is not the same thing as pity. Pity is looking at a person from a perceived place of power and feeling sorry from them, where compassion is realizing that we all want the same things. You are providing the same care that you would want: to be fed, to be safe, to be loved, to not be alone. You, in providing care, are empowering another person to experience the world in a more enriching way. And to me, there is nothing more hopeful and positive than this thought. When I shifted my focus from progress to enrichment, I started to feel a lot lighter. I still need reminders sometimes because I'm pretty goal-oriented, but I try to stay anchored in this concept of enrichment. It helps me to feel more whole and free. And enrichment is indeed for everyone. If you feel stressed, unfulfilled, worn out, or without purpose, you can benefit from more enrichment in your life. When enrichment is your aim, you can let go of the ideas of comparison and pressure because life is not about an imaginary end goal. You can take time to care for yourself and be present with loved ones. You can offer other people enrichment every day by seasoning all of your interactions with compassion and care. We all deserve a more enriching life, and we can all have it if we work together. We can all be teachers, we can all be taught, we can all give and receive comfort, and every single life has value that cannot be measured. I may not always be able to play music or overcome every obstacle that I face, but that's not my main objective. No matter what happens, I will always have the capacity to experience enrichment. Because in the end, we are all finite beings. But until our very last breath, we can appreciate a more enriching life. Emerson was correct. Life is a journey, not a destination. A journey that can be enriched every day we are alive. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. I'm gonna sing a song for you now. Pushing up through the dirt just like a seed, but you're never quite a flower. You feel more just like a weed, driving through. You want to know where you are going, but the windshield's always dirty, and you never get to see what makes you think that you'll ever get there. What makes you think you deserve to know? Who are you really? Are you so important? Take a look around and watch the world unfold. Watch the world unfold. Watch the world unfold. Watch the world unfold. Need advice, you have no clue what you're doing. Moral compass, it is spinning, an identity unhinged. Where to turn, where to turn? There's so many opinions, and they're all a little different, and the outlook's getting dim. What makes you think that you'll ever get there? What makes you think you deserve to know? Who are you really? Are you so important? Watch the world unfold. Watch the world unfold. Pushing up through the dirt just like a seed, but you're never quite a flower. You feel more just like a weed.